like to call the meeting to order. Any special intentions?
Yes. I have one.
Okay. Councilman Carroll?
Thank you, Mr. President. And with sadness and joy, I'd like to ask everyone for their prayers for a number of District 1 residents, many, many years, many people that I have known through my life growing up in South Kenner and who has been an asset to the community and to the city through a number of different things, either with the school board, the recreation department, and this overall community folks. First, I would like to ask for your prayers for Ms. Verda Lee Crockham Curtis, Ms. Dolores Harris Batiste, Mr. Clarence Williams Sr., Mr. Lionel Washington Sr., and Mr. June Nelson Sr. I ask for your prayers for them and for their families. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Segura?
Thank you. It's again with great sorrow that we now have the passing of another former city employee. Tommy LeBlanc was actually a councilman for many years in Kenner in District 3. And he had a State Farm dealership actually just right around the corner from my house, so I used to visit with him quite regularly. And he used to work, again, like I said, for the city, Shell Chemical, and for the ones that are around that remember him, he was quite colorful. So he was always fun to be around, but he could throw some things at you. So it's with sorrow that he passed away at the age of 91, and we pray for his family that things work out for them. Thank you.
Mayor Zahn?
Our director, in our thoughts and prayers, he suffered an accident about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and he is still in the hospital. I'll go in more detail later on, but Rick Walter, super guy, please keep in your prayers.
Any other special intentions? Councilman Brannigan?
I'd like to have a special intention for Wanda Carey. Her husband, Joe Carey, passed away last night, and he was very active in the Chateau Lakefront Civic Association and did a lot of things for that organization.
Thank you. And if you will, Councilmember McKinney, would you lead us in a prayer?
Lord, is it on? I don't think it is. Lord, thank you for this day and the opportunity for us to come together to make decisions for our community and work together for the best of Kenner. Please give us direction, fortitude, and grace to deal with the challenges that lay ahead. May we always listen and seek guidance from you in all we do. Amen.
Councilman Brennan, if you lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. In accordance with Council Resolution Number B14550, please be advised that our cellular telephones, pagers, beepers, and other devices of this nature must be deactivated or silenced throughout the council meeting. We have a quorum this evening. Mr. Chairman, I've received a request this evening to change the order of business to take item 13A at the beginning of the meeting. I have a motion by Councilmember Wilmot, seconded by Councilmember Segura to change the order of business. Council members, please vote. Two more. Councilman Carroll? Everybody voted? I got two more. Just hit yay. Is it? One more. One more? Okay, I'm in the voting. Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 13A is a resolution electing a Kenner City Council President and Vice President effective July 12, 2018. I have a motion by Councilmember McKinney, seconded by Councilmember Brannigan. Councilman Wilmot, you have the floor.
Thank you, ma'am. I would like to say I have enjoyed my tenure as serving as a council president for the last 6 months. I appreciate Councilman Segura serving as the council vice president and always being available in the event need would arise. Again, I'd like to thank Natalie Hall and Teresa Hastings for all that they do to assist us. And I also thank Michelle Volpe, my council assistant, for all that she does to assist me in preparing for these meetings. We traditionally rotate the responsibility of council president and vice council every 6 months. And today we have legislation to do just that, to select new ones. I look forward to serving with our newly elected council president and vice president, and I thank you all for working with me during the last 6 months, the ones that were here and, of course, the ones that are new to the council. Thank you as well. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Hearing no further discussion, council members, please vote. Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Yes, we can switch.
I'm going to take a couple of pictures. Hang there, give us some good smiles. And take one more. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I've also received a request this evening to change the order of business to take item 12B at the beginning of the meeting. I have a motion by Councilmember Segura, seconded by Councilmember Brennan, to change the order of business. Council members, please vote. Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0 to change the order of business. Item 12B is summary ordinance number 12,396, an ordinance naming the Nick and Jimmy Police Complex to honor long-time service of Nick and Jimmy to the Kenner Police Department.
Thank you. As the ordinance so reads, this is something that's very near and dear to me, certainly, and the rest of our council members, to take the privilege of honoring a very, very good person who's done a wonderful thing for his tenure in law enforcement, which is still growing because he's still a police chief somewhere else right now. So the time he was with Kenner was certainly very, very distinguishable, and to go through the list of things, he would tell me I'm taking too long, so I will keep it brief and just say he did a wonderful job. But to get this where we are now, it took some legislation on the state level. So I would like to bring up there you go again, Mayor, you got me doing it too, Councilman. State Rep Joe Stagney, who sponsored the state legislation to move this where we can get to this point.
Thank you, Council President Segura, Mayor, Police Chief, council members, directors, and audience members. I got elected a year and 4 months ago, and when I was sitting in my first committee meeting for the municipal committee, they had a bill that came before us that renamed a building in honor of somebody who was alive. And I go back to 2006 when then Councilman Dominic Wildbacker and myself wanted to name the Kenner Police Complex, and at the time we found out that the person had to be deceased. So we ended up back then doing the street right next to the Kenner Police Complex. But I promised myself it would be my first piece of legislation. And while it was written first, because of some advertising requirements, it did not end up being my first piece of legislation, but it was a very important piece of legislation. I grew up in a time where Kenner transformed the police department from a town police department almost to a modern city. And that was because of a longtime policeman that started in 1970 that rose through the ranks, became police chief, was elected 4 times, did some things that were innovative and everybody across the state took notice. They elected him the president of the chiefs of police twice, but in Kenner, our city, we had the highest paid police officers in the state at the time. He instituted a domestic violence, I don't even know the term, but it was a mandatory arrest, I think it was. He put decoy police cars on the road to slow down speeders. It wasn't long before other law enforcement agencies started to do some of the same things. And what really made us apart from everybody else was he was very efficient with his budget, and he built a police complex that was maybe $10 or $12 million at the time, probably worth excess of $50 million today if you had to build it. But it was the police station headquarters of envy throughout the state. And what made me feel good is when I testified before my own committee this year, many of the committee members knew Nick and Jimmy. When he would go to the legislature, or we have former police chiefs there, former council people there, and many of them signed on as co-authors to the legislation. And, you know, so many times we honor people who after they pass, we honor them. And when you see some of the extraordinary accomplishments, and you know, we'd be here a long time if Council President Segura and myself went through them all, but you ought to honor extraordinary accomplishments while they're here to see people with what they've done. So it was my pleasure to do that. It's up to the council to name it, and I think it was important to do. When you have somebody like that serves the public the way that he has, when you have a 51% reduction in crime during the time he was there, that's impressive. Our citizens felt good about being Kenner citizens like they do now. So it was my pleasure. I appreciate the honor of being asked here, and more importantly, to bestow that honor upon somebody that deserves it, former Police Chief Nick and Jimmy.
Thank you, State Rep. I guess, Mr. Morrell, you state your name, address, just so we can hear it again.
Al Morella, 4260 East Loyola Drive, 5th District, 46 years. I'm in favor of this ordinance because Chief Jimmy, one thing Representative Stagney didn't mention, he didn't only build that complex with being efficient with his budget, but he did it at no additional cost to the taxpayers of the city of Kenner. And he also had cooperation from the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office to help. And that was a Bell South vacant building on that property when he purchased the property and built this complex. This is his legacy. This is his signature accomplishment. He built this department to what it is today, and I can't think of a better way to honor Chief Jimmy than this ordinance. Anybody got any comments, any questions? Thank you.
Yep. Mayor Zahn.
Thank you, Council Chairman. I just want to say that when State Representative Joe Stagney called me, and also called you to write that letter, I know that we both jumped on that right away to actually show support for it. I never had the pleasure of serving with Chief Jimmy because when I came in, obviously Steve Caraway was the chief of police, but I had a long working relationship with him through our family business and also had been friends with him for a long time. So for this to happen is really a great honor for our chief, who did a lot, like Joe said. And what's really fitting is that you are the council chairman while this is happening, because I worked very closely with you with some things in my business back then, making sure that building, because you were the chief architect of that building. So for it to happen right now with you as the council chairman, I don't think there's a better time for this to occur. And I want to say again to Chief Jimmy, my very dear friend, that congratulations to him and his family, and also Joe, thank you very much for putting this up, and also this council for supporting this.
Thank you, Mayor. And a rare occasion, Chief Glazer.
Have a long speech as always.
All right.
No, I just urge each of y'all to support this. It's well overdue. Glad, I guess, I talked to Representative Stagney, I guess when he learned that he can do this, and kind of asked if it would, if Chief Jimmy, would he be interested in it? So I said yes, he would, and he's got my support, and hopefully he has all y'all support. And then we'll put a little plaque somewhere in the back of a closet door, and something like that. Give him the. That's it. No, but please support it.
Hearing no further discussion?
All right, just for a quick close, just to kind of clarify a little bit what Mr. Morrell said about the cost of the building was $10 million. There was some additional costs for furnishings, which probably brought it up to 12. But it's not that it did not cost the city any additional money. It was paid for in cash. It was not bond money. And that's where he was probably referring, that there was no interest money. So that was quite a rarity, and I don't know if it's ever been done where the chief of the city build that complex of a building for that much money with saved up money instead of bonding and being indebted for that money and pay the interest. So to me, that was one of the most remarkable things of his tenure, was to be able to have the money put aside as he did to build it up and then move forward with the project, because at that time our police department was in the building right behind here and was in very, very tight quarters, so we needed that expansion. So through his guidance, that's where it wound up. So, and it's still in the same condition. It's older now, but it looks the same. So I think that a great job was done on that. So with that said, no other comments?
No, sir. I have a motion by Councilmember Segura, seconded by Councilmember Brennan. Council members, please vote. Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
All right, at this time, I'd like to call up former Kenner Police Chief, now Causeway Police Chief Nick Conjemi, to come, and I know he wanted to talk, so we'll see how long he talks.
Thank you. You all are so kind and gracious. It's really hard to express my sincere thanks and appreciation. And I know that at some point my wife Linda is going to be watching this, and she will remind me to keep it short. I'll try, Linda. But I owe many thanks to State Representative Joe Stagney, who started this project, and when he started it, he called me up, and I was a little reluctant at first, and then I said, well, go ahead, give it a shot, because I didn't think that he would be able to do it, and knowing Joe's determination and his zeal, he pulled it off. And Joe, I really do appreciate that. It's indeed a great honor, and I appreciate each one of you all supporting this endeavor, and it's really an extra special day for me to hear Chief Mike Glazer speak. But I think as most of you all sitting up here and most of you people in the audience know that all great accomplishments and great achievements are not done by a single person. The one person that has stood by my side for over 50 years is my wonderful wife, Linda, who has been my inspiration and partner and stood with me throughout this whole great journey of law enforcement. For some of you younger people today in law enforcement, you do not realize that back then we didn't have two-way radios, we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have SWAT teams. We did the best that we could with what we had, and actually we were very effective in what we did. I want to thank Councilman Segura, because Mike, some of you may not know, he was the person who actually ran the project.
I sat in the office, and he would tell me about the progress each and every day. We'd go out there and look things over, and I'd put my own little special, I guess, signature on things, but Mike stayed there the entire time. He orchestrated the building. He supervised the entire project. So, Mike, I thank you for what you did. You and I have been partners in law enforcement for a long time. I'd like to thank some of the people here from law enforcement that are here with me today from the Kenner Police Department. They are equally, I think, responsible for this too. This is not a single-person project, and this is not a single-person honor. I don't see it that way. I see it as an honor for all of the Kenner Police Department employees because they contributed to it and made it all possible. So, Linda, in closing, thank all of you all very much for coming. I certainly do appreciate it. I'm honored, and it's a very special honor, and it's a privilege to be here. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Now, just stay right there. I'm going to invite the council, the mayor, the chief, State Rep Stagney, to have a picture while we present you with a copy of this ordinance.
You didn't know that?
Okay, so I'm going to pick it so we know. All right, hold on. All right, move, see it. Thank you. Mine's on the screen. So it's mine. You see, it's not you. Yes. They voted on this? They voted on approve it too. No bouncing around. They did because I had to call the motion. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, so it's mine, T, so you can print the ordinance. So I'm gonna have to do the presentation too. So for some reason, I'm not getting a green light from your computer. We need to fix that.
And for the sake of just the audience and the viewing public, we will officially put the name on the building in the near future. We're still working on that design, so we will have a more traditional ceremony for that when we do that. So they'll get another chance to listen to the chief and the chief talk. And it'll be much cooler, yes. Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, I've also received a request to change the order of business to take item 18A at the beginning of the meeting. I have a motion by Councilmember Segura, seconded by Councilmember Brennan, to change the order of business. Council members, please vote. Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0 to change your order of business. Item 18A, at the request of Councilmember Segura, a legislative update from State Representative Joseph Stagney.
State Rep?
Thank you, Council President. I did want to mention, and I forgot to before, that the mayor, the police chief, and all the council members gave me letters of support, except for one council member, and it wasn't his fault. It was mine. I had everybody else's number. I did not have Mr. Hayes' number, who has been supportive of this process all along, but I apologize for not being able to get in touch with you during that time. So I got elected a year and 4 months ago, and I got to tell you, it's been eye-opening and frustrating. Eye-opening because, like you guys, I was one of 7 people, and I jumped to the legislature, and I'm one of 105. So before it took 4 votes to pass a bill, and now it takes 53. Frustrating because on a relatively simple matter, it took some representatives 3 years and 10 sessions. It took me 6 sessions over a year and 4 months, and we're fighting over 17 cents on $100 for important programs that affect this city. And I thought that was disturbing. The taxpayers were having to pay that money. But I can tell you, your Kenner delegation members, Senator Martini, Senator Smith, Representative Stokes, and myself, we were all part of the solution. So that was helpful, that you have a group up there willing to vote in favor of progress rather than say no to everything. So when I got elected, there were 2 pressing matters that needed attention. One, you all supported, New Orleans supported, putting a terminal on the north side of the airport. The problem was that our Kenner citizens were going to be in a lot of traffic impacts along the way. There was no ingress and egress, and my first meeting with the governor, I told him that I thought that this was the most important project for not only Kenner, but our region, and maybe even the state, because of what we get in tourism dollars. He went to work with the business community, with a number of you all and New Orleans, and he announced in January through a system called Garvey bonds that we are going to now get an airport flyover that will relieve tremendous traffic congestion to our citizens, probably to the tune of $125 million. Before I forget, there's going to be a public meeting on that at the Pavilion on July 24th from 5 to 7, and the public is invited to attend. There's going to be a stakeholder meeting before that, and some of the elected officials will be invited to that as well. When I tell you that that is sorely needed, originally they had projected that the airport flyover would be 10 years, 8 to 10 years following the opening of the terminal, which is February of next year. And they were saying that without any funding source. And now we have a funding source, we have a timeline, and it's going to be done by a design-build type of construction, which is much quicker, and there's parallel procedures going on right now to try to hurry that as fast as possible. So we can be proud that that is being done. I know the mayor has worked hard on this as well, and I think there's a 12-year payback, and whether that's in money or swapping property, Kenner was in the negotiations, working hard on behalf of its citizens, and I appreciate the efforts of the mayor and the council members. The other pressing matter was ending the fiscal cliff. And the fiscal cliff was probably partially manufactured when this governor and this legislature came into office. There was a $2 billion deficit, and they had to figure out a way to either cut that, and former State Representative Tom Wilmot knows that, he was there at the time, either cut the budget completely or do a combination of cuts and raise some revenue. So they decided that the better way was to raise some revenue. They put a penny on the sales tax, they cleaned some of those pennies, made all the exemptions the same, and they raised $1.4 billion. So they cut $600,000 right there. I'm going to fast forward to just this last special session when we were looking at the penny rolling off. So we were going to lose the $1.4 billion, and there were arguments as to, by all the different factions, don't renew anything, renew the full penny, or renew a portion of the penny. And by the time we got to the third session, the choice was clear. You're either going to renew some of the expiring revenue, or you're going to have drastic cuts. The district attorney's offices were going to cut 82%. TOPS was going to be cut 30%. All the departments in state government, because the Senate said, you know what, we're going to fund those critical services. You saw on the news, nursing home residents, hospitals. The Senate said, we're going to cover that. But then all the departments took a hit. They took a 24.2% hit. Veterans Affairs, Senior Citizens, Children, Department of Children and Family Services, and more than a dozen others. So at the end of the day, we came to a compromise where they decided to fund 0.45 of the cent. And so 1.4 was coming off. We're going to fund a little over 500 million, and those services will be taken care of. Some of the other services on an over collections fund will pay that. So that's been the big issue. It's been frustrating for some of us who we heard from our constituents loud and clear early on that those programs for seniors, disabled, our children, higher ed, were much more important than even the penny that they were talking about. But we did some other things as well. We did Louisiana Checkbook, which is going to be an online service that will allow you, we took it from Ohio, but it will allow you to go on and see what expenditures are, what the contracts are, and you'll be able to track all of that almost in real time. So that was considered a progressive move that had some transparency. I know that y'all heard of the young man who passed away at LSU. We passed the Max Groover Act, which further criminalizes hazing, that if it leads to a death, you have imprisonment, up to $10,000 fine. And if you were involved but didn't say anything, now that's been criminalized as well. So I think there's going to be a strong effort. The colleges are now, with this law, going to be forced to educate the fraternities on hazing. And we also did some things with prescription benefits managers that apparently there were contracts in place that do not allow them to, they sign a contract with a physician. The physician can't tell the patient that there's a lower, cheaper, more cost-effective medication. More locally, the riverboats. Big issue on the riverboats. This is going to affect your city. The mayor's already on the forefront of trying to make some things happen at Lake Town. We changed the law to allow riverboats to go 1,200 feet on land, to get rid of the paddle boats, and that's going to help our city. I was where you are, and I know the benefit that Treasure Chest has been to this city in terms of our police department and in terms of our capital budget. I think that's leading to growth for that area. Hopefully Boyd will look to invest more into our city. Hold on one second, I'm gonna get you. Parish Line Pump Station, something Mayor Zahn was involved in when he was a Jefferson Parish councilman, and now, and all of you guys, Senator Martini last year in the capital budget got us $3.3 million for the pump station. It's going to increase the capacity to the western portion of Kenner and the runoff on the airport to the old portion of the airport. Representative Stokes and myself, although she did it because she's on the committee, but I met with her and Sean Wilson, and we amended it, the HB2 this year, and got another $1.6 million. So that's going to be helpful to some of the drainage projects. I will tell you that, and I don't know how this happened, former state representative Tom Wilmot, there was some Lincoln Manor drainage stuff, and there was some other stuff that was put in that somehow 2 years ago was wiped off the books. So we had to go through the process again to get it back on the books. And so we'll start fighting for some of those things as well. Little things, when I was a councilman, I requested through a resolution, Councilman Carroll and myself, that they make a dedicated turning light at Fillmore and Roosevelt at Airline. And oddly enough, I'm state representative, and they finally did it. So that was nice. And you see some maintenance going on repaving on Airline Highway. That's just we do a lot of things up there, and it's very diverse. Not all of it applies to Kenner. I can tell you that, you know, I'm doing the best job I can. I'm working hard, but your mayor's tough, and he's telling me I need to do more. So I can tell you that I'll be working harder to try to get dollars for our city. We have to go through that process of reintroducing some of those projects to try to get it in motion. And you have a very good Kenner delegation up there. Senator Smith, Senator Martini, Representative Stokes. Believe me, I'm the least experienced. Those are valuable players for us in Baton Rouge, so they do a great job. And I'd be happy to answer any questions if I can.
Councilman Wilmot.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to say that first off and foremost, thank you for your service. you hit the ground running. There's no question about it. You picked up steam real fast. I had served as a state representative, District 92, for 9 years, and you picked up right where I left off. You've done real well catching up fast. And I know that this past legislative cycle, which you've had, Representative Stagny, has been a long and very difficult time in Baton Rouge. You had 3 special sessions. You had a 1 3-month regular session, totaling nearly, if not a little bit more, 4.5 months of being in Baton Rouge. I just want people to understand what that means. Driving, if you live home here in Kenner, which I'm sure Representative Stagny does, driving back and forth daily is a challenge in itself. And being up there for all the countless hours is just unbelievable. It's a very difficult task to undergo. The tremendous amount of time that's involved, the constant traveling, making all the important votes. We're not talking dozens, we're talking hundreds of votes, and on various massive amounts of different topics. I know that the sacrifices are unbelievable that you make, your family makes, your business makes, and through it all, you stayed the course, and you've represented the city of Kenner well and all your constituents. Know that because we have had the opportunity to visit you up there several times during this tenure, we actually stopped in and visited several times, many of us. And during that time, you were always available, accepting phone calls, and very helpful and dedicated to city causes. And thank you for your public service, and keep up the good work in representing us and our people of Kenner. So thank you much. I just wanted to make sure I expressed that. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Councilman Wilmot. I like to tell people, you look at Tom, and I have big shoes to fill, both literally and figuratively.
Mayor Zahn?
Thank you, Council Chairman. Joe, I just want to tell you thank you. You know, we spent a lot of time up in Baton Rouge on our Jefferson Day, and whenever we're there, you're always very helpful along with the other Kenner delegation. Appreciate everything the senators do for Kenner and also the state reps. But I just want to let this council know, and a few of y'all know this, but for the new people, it is so good to have a former city councilman that I served with from 2006 to about 2011 that most of us have relationships with that actually knows the needs of the city of Kenner. And the residents that are watching this right now, it is an asset to the city of Kenner. Tom, you did a great job. I'm not saying you didn't. But to have someone who actually knows what we need every day is an asset. And of course, he lives here. His business is here in Kenner. So we're easily accessible to everyone. Thanks, Joe. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor.
Councilman Carroll?
Thank you, Mr. President. And before I address Representative Stagny, just to piggyback a little bit on Mayor Zahn, to say that to have a former Kenner council person in the state legislature, also the same in Jefferson Parish with Councilman Dominic Impastato, to have those areas where you have people who know the final points of the city of Kenner. It's just hard to, that is not luck. That is something that we will always have the advantage, at least for the next 4 years, for that. So we all are grateful for that. But also, transition into my comments, Representative Stagny, is that, thank you. You came in at a time where many people, if you had to pick a time to be in the state government, this would not be the time to be it. No one would pick right now, so it wasn't your choice. This is where the cards were dealt, and you have done a great job in your year and a half that you've been there, particularly with what we talked about tonight for the chief, which is well-deserving. Thank you for championing, again, putting back on the page for the Lincoln Manor drainage, which affects District 1, and also for the flywheel to be able to come in into, because we all represent the city of Kenner. District 1 is where it's being built at. So obviously, the people from the code department, the planning department, that have to deal with the day-to-day calls from the residents, it is something that we will be dealing with until 2019 February, I believe it's the terminal is supposed to be built. And you talked about the pavilion meeting that's coming up real soon. You and I have also talked about some other things, bringing another delegation, talk about some things that are also pressing. I'm not saying it's more important than the flyover, but for the people who live in the Susan Park Veterans area, there are some things that we everything from the expansion of the Veterans Highway to the drainage, to all of those things that direct people in the University City, Susan Park, and Lincoln Manor subdivision, that we will be able to answer questions. Because what happens is a lot of stuff gets out there and people take innuendos, gossip, rumors for fact, and it's not. And to have someone right in the midst of it to be able to bring this to the community and express it and to share with it is something that we look forward to those meetings. So thank you, we look forward to those meetings, and thank you for all your work that you're doing and will continue to do.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilman Brannigan.
Joe, I just wanted to say thank you, and the main thing is, it seems like you've been there a lot longer than a year and a half, and I guess with 4.5 months in the first year, that's justified. But I really like the way you showed unity with working with the other representatives to put Kenner first, and that's what this is all about. Making sure that things work out, and if there's anything that we can do for you, don't hesitate to call on us.
No, I appreciate
On
it.
me.
And the
I don't
mayor
wanna
can
speak
tell you,
for everybody.
I don't hesitate to call. I think it's him again? Oh, no. But the mayor's been very helpful. And look, make no mistake about it, I'm a rookie. The other members of the Kenner delegation, they really are superstars in what they do. I'm learning a lot. I put everything I can into it, but I'm learning a lot from them.
Okay, well, thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
All right, nobody else?
One last statement, and I apologize. Representative Stokes got some money for Lake Trail drainage in HB2. I think it may be, I don't know how much is left to pay for it, but I think it may be $63,000. So Councilman Hayes, you'll be looking to get that pretty soon. Thank you for allowing me.
Sure, thank you, Councilman, there we go again. State Rep Stagg, you know, it's always been an annual thing for our legislators to come and give us this update. I thank you very much. And then just for the audience to know, there others were invited. Unfortunately, their schedules did not allow them to come, but they would perhaps make themselves available at a future time. But you did so well, I'm not sure that we'll need them.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
All right, we're now at the point where we're going to get back into our regular scheduled agenda. But before we do that, I want to at least take the moment, because of the things we took out of place, to first off thank my colleagues for entrusting me as your council president. And I surely pledge to do almost as good as Tom Wilmot has done for the last 6 months. Dom, you did a wonderful job. It was great. Appreciated it. As Joe said, big shoes to carry or to fill, but this chair seems like it's swallowing me, so I don't know if anybody can really see me because he was like up to here, but so at any rate, I'm here. And then I would also like to welcome back Councilman Carroll, Councilman Wilmot to our council. Certainly they re-elected and are here. But then we have the 4 new ones, Councilman Brennan, Brannigan, Hayes, and McKinney. So we now have 4 new council members, and this, to me, feels like 4 years ago when I came on as part of a group of 4. So it's certainly nice to have y'all. We've had many meetings over the last few weeks, you know, so we certainly know what's coming, and we are all ready to go to work, and each of us do what we need to do the city's business. So thank y'all for taking on this challenge, and look forward over the next 4 years with great things for all of us to do. So appreciate it. Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. We have resolutions, motions, and other items from the floor. This evening, I have a motion by Councilmember Brennan, seconded by Councilmember McKinney, to amend the agenda to include item 13F, a resolution requesting the assistance of the administration to review the proposed ordinance amending Chapter 7 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Kenner regarding the distribution of solicited and unsolicited print matter.
Anyone in the audience wishing to object? Seeing none, council members, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Under the consent agenda this evening, we have item 1, approval of minutes, the council meeting of June 21st, 2018. Item 2 is approval of alcoholic beverage permit applications. We have none. Item 3 is approval of bingo and public gathering applications. Item 3A is application number 2100-18, Amy penitent to hold a public gathering on August 25th, 2018, from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. for the purpose of a birthday party at Lake Town in Kenner, Louisiana. Item 4 is correspondence, reports from the mayor, CAO, or department heads. Item 4A, at the request of the administration, a report from Mayor Zahn.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Mayor?
Thank you, Council Chairman. I, too, want to start off by welcoming the 4 new council members. Of course, my 3 that are returning, Tom and Mike and Greg, but also Brian, George, Christy, and Glenn. I look forward to working with you. I've worked with most of y'all in the past. Continue to work with y'all in the future for the next 4 years. So I really do, like Mike said, we've been meeting. I think everybody knows the path of what our residents and our citizens want in the city of Kenner, and I believe we all agree with that. It'll be a good 4 years and see some movement over the next couple of years. I want to welcome back Ronnie Villaro. He's not here with us tonight, but he did come back to work as of about a week ago. Ronnie suffered some serious issues outside of his home. As you've heard us at the inauguration talk about it, you've heard us at council meetings talk about it, of how we were able to save Ronnie's life with the help of the Kenner Police Department and our Kenner Fire Department and the EMTs. So Ronnie is back at work and doing well. Unfortunately, our code director, Rick Walter, you heard me have special intentions for him earlier, is having a lot of issues in the hospital. He suffered a fall off of a ladder at his home about 2 weeks ago. It'll be 3 weeks this Saturday, actually. And he's going through a lot. He's had a few surgeries. I don't want to go into too much of his personal detail, but he's had a couple of surgeries. It seems that today, it has been touch and go up until today, it seems that today he's doing a lot better with being a lot more responsive. So if the prayers keep coming in, maybe we can get Rick to pull through this and hopefully get Rick back to work. But it is a serious injury, it's a serious head injury, and Rick is missed right now with the code enforcement. We do have James Mohammed that I want to thank, who has stepped in as the interim director to run code enforcement for us right now. There's a lot of changes going on in code. We will continue to produce in code enforcement for the city of Kenner, the people of the city of Kenner, what they're actually used to. We just actually did a code sweep in a portion of District 2/District 3 of the city of Kenner on July the 11th. We actually found in the 4100 block of Alabama and the 4200 block of Arizona, 7 abandoned vehicles, address required 2, building maintenance 1, soffit and fascia 3, fence repair 2, garbage debris 1, high grass and weeds 2, litter and debris 2, oversized vehicles 1, repair and demos 1 is needed, and unsafe electric 4 of them. These are the things that the Kenner Code Enforcement continues to do. In the past, under the leadership of Rick Walter, we're continuing that with James Mohammed right now, and the men and ladies that work in code enforcement that keep the city looking good is extremely important. While I'm on talking about issues throughout the city with code enforcement, I'll give 2 good things that are going on besides that code sweep we just did. In District 4, Councilman Brannigan, we obviously have the Pavilion Shopping Center, which I know is a hot potato, a hot issue. It is being painted, and I do ask the people of Kenner to be patient. I do appreciate how social media has actually calmed down, and you and I have talked about that, because they do see that it is being painted. What can city government do to a building like this? It's what's being done. We're forcing them to do something about it, and you jumped in right away, helping with that. Tom, you've been helping with it, being an at-large councilman. Christy, you jumped in also. And it's important that we continue to do that because you do see an end result. Now, all we can do, and we've stressed this to the people of Kenner, all we can do is make it look aesthetically pleasing and within the code. They do have a landscaping plan that's coming. They have a lot more painting to do before they even get to the landscaping. But the theory here is that it will attract businesses. We are going to seek and look for an economic development coordinator / director to come into the city of Kenner and work with that. Very shortly, you guys will be getting a letter from me for, someone that you think may serve on a committee for the future that we can actually consider to put onto a board. these are the things that we can do together to help these businesses that are looking aesthetically pleasing to come back. We have the property across the street, and of course, we had the Esplanade Mall. We are trying to get in contact with the new owners of the mall and haven't been successful yet, but there are some new owners. We have to find out what their plans are there. But if we take one at a time, which we started with the pavilion, I think we will accomplish that. Another good thing happening in District 4, and I want to tell you thank you publicly for the monies that you are putting forward for the demo out of your district accounts, Councilman Brannigan. The Hollywood Theater, within the next 2 weeks, will be torn down. It will be gone. And that is the old movie theater that Canes Brulee has had to suffer with and deal with for a number of years. Like I said, Councilman Brannigan put some money out of his district account for the demo. Within the next week, you'll probably see some staging in your district, and then shortly after that, within the next week, it will start demo and hopefully be over with. There are no rats in the building. That is a question that keeps coming up. It does not need to be fumigated. We are going to tear that building down. It's not going to run into the Canes Brulee area because there will be no rats to do that, but we will get that done within the next 2 weeks. So again, thank you for your help on that. Thank the two at-larges, your consistent help, Tom, and Christy, for your help that you've been giving on that. With that, those are the things that are going on in the city of Kenner on our side. Any questions? Be glad to answer.
None? Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, but Councilman Brannigan has his light on.
Oh, must have.
Yeah, we just wanted to talk about the pavilion for 1 second. We cannot put businesses in there, obviously, but we can make them keep the properties up. And if you pass by there and you look at it, it's really coming along. They have painted the buildings, and they have renovated a lot of the interiors on the east side building. The other thing that we're doing is we're trying to clean up West Esplanade between the Duncan Canal and Muspertolino. I've secured a bunch of free mud, told people that were digging pools, and if you had any extra good mud and soil that you could dump, they've been dumping it, trying to level that out and make that pretty, make it all attractive in order to attract businesses for that development. So I think everybody's on the same page.
Okay.
Yes, sir, that will conclude the consent agenda this evening.
Motion by McKinney, second by Wilmot. Council members, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Under the public appearance agenda this evening, we have item 9, public hearings for final passage. Item 9A is a public hearing regarding resolution number B16905, a resolution calling a public hearing to determine whether the structures located at 700 Jerry Drive in Kenner, Louisiana shall be abated by repair, rehabilitation, demolition, or removal.
Motion by Councilman Carroll, second by Councilman Hayes to open the public hearing. Council members, please vote.
One more. Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0 to open your hearing.
Anyone in the audience wishing to address the council on this matter? Code have a presentation? Thank you. Mr. I would say Walter, but well, I know.
The
Mr.
structure is a
Muhammad, would you please?
pile-supported slab. I'm sorry, sir. The structure in question is a pile-supported slab structure bearing a municipal address of 700 Jerry. The property is owned by Mr. Robert Tassin et al. On October the 31st, 2017, the property was unsafe, dangerous, and under the building codes of the city of Kenner, as well as Section 5-57 et al. Of the Code of Ordinance for the city of Kenner. On December 13, 2017, a notice was sent by certified mail to the property owners advising them of the property and building violations. The city of Kenner also contracted the services of an engineer, and it is noted by the report of the engineer retained by the city of Kenner, who provided the following reasons for inadequate maintenance, dilapidation, and abatement. Utilities are disconnected. Vegetation is severely overgrown on and all around the structure. Soffit and fascia is falling off at numerous locations around the perimeter of the property. The roof is compromised with several large gaping holes, thus exposing the interior to the elements. Substantial debris is at the rear of the property. Settlement has occurred at the perimeter of the property, thus causing voids to form at the perimeter of the slab and allowing vermin to harbor underneath the structure, underneath the slab. Based on the visual observations, the structure is a serious public hazard, and we recommend that the city take the steps necessary to declare it a public nuisance. And have it abated by demolition or brought up to the current codes by the city of Kenner and ordinances. As we continue our fight on blight, we would greatly appreciate your support in this matter.
Thank you. We have our curator.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Sophie Rosado of the Rosado Law Firm. Address is P.O. Box 641887, Kenner, Louisiana 70064. I was appointed as the curator to locate Robert Tassin, Joseph Tassin, David Tassin, Michael Tassin, and Carolyn Tassin, wife of Joseph H. Metzger, Jr. I ran an internet background search for all of these defendants on Intellius. On January 22nd of 2018, I mailed 41 letters to the addresses provided by the search. Of the 41 certified letters that were mailed, 35 were returned unclaimed, and 6 were returned claimed with return receipt. 2 letters were not returned with tracking and stopped at the New Orleans post office, so they were resent on April 13th of 2018, and both came back as returned to sender, unable to forward. A copy of all of the letters and returned certified slips are included in my curator's exhibits. On January 22nd of 2018, I called all of the numbers on the Intellius reports for all defendants, to which I either left messages, was not able to leave a message as the numbers rang until disconnecting with no voicemail and no answer, rang and was busy with no voicemail and no answer, or was the wrong number. On January 24th of 2018, January 30th of 2018, and March 9th of 2018, I spoke with Mr. Jerry Metzger, who informed me that the owners are deceased and the family did not and will not open a succession or use the property. He stated one of the heirs was his sister-in-law. Mennonite letters were sent by the City of Kenner to Wells Fargo Bank, Ford Motor Credit Company, Fidelity Homestead Association on December 4th of 2017, and to Robert Tassin et al. On December 13th of 2017. A copy of those letters with return letters certified receipt slips are included in my curator's exhibits. Not convinced all of the named defendants had been found, I ran an ad in the Times-Picayune on June 24th, 27th, and 29th of 2018, but have not heard from anyone regarding that ad. To date, I have not received any other phone calls, and those are the steps I took to locate the named defendants, and my search is concluded. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on this matter? Seeing none. Motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Hayes to close the public hearing. Council members, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
Motion by Councilman Carroll, second by Councilmember Hayes to approve. Greg? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to just thank Mr. Muhammad, along with everyone in the code department, all the code sweeps that are being done. It is magnifying throughout the city of Kenner, particularly in District 1, and people are really, like I always have said in the last couple of meetings, are really appreciative of this. This is an area, the Susan Park area, that is one of the older sections of Kenner, and I can remember as a little boy going by Mr. Bob Clavin in the Susan Park playground and seeing this home that was vibrant and the people were there, but it has taken a turn for the worse, and the neighbors in the neighborhood will be glad when the home is demolished for the safety of all the children and everyone else that live there. So thanks again for the support. We look forward to more properties that we all saw the pictures. If they're in this type of condition, there's only one thing to do, and unfortunately, we have to do that for the sake of the city. So thank you guys again. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Motion by Councilman Carroll, second by Councilman Hayes to approve. Council members vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 9B is a public hearing regarding Resolution Number B 16906, a resolution calling a public hearing to determine whether the structures located at 204 Georgetown Drive in Kenner, Louisiana shall be abated by repair, rehabilitation, demolition, or removal.
Motion by Councilman Brennan, second by Councilmember Brannigan to open public hearing. Council members, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak? Code?
The structure in question is a pile-supported slab bearing a municipal address of 204 Georgetown Drive. The property is owned by Miss and Miss Lawrence Mayran. On February 1st, 2018, it was determined that the property was unsafe, dangerous under the building codes of the City of Kenner, as well as Section 5-57 et al. Of the Code of Ordinances for the City of Kenner. On February the 5th, 2018, a notice was sent out by certified mail to the property owners advising them of the property and the building violations. The address is found via search engine. After certified mail was returned unclaimed and begun an unsafe location to locate unable to locate the property owner, a curator was appointed by the city. As of this date, the violations have not been corrected, nor have there been any attempts to comply. The city has been maintaining the property for several years, and there is currently an amount owed of $3,912.52 to the City of Kenner. The City of Kenner also contacted the services of an engineer. It is noted in the report of the engineer retained by the City of Kenner, who provided the following reasons for inadequate maintenance, dilapidation, and abandonment. Utilities are disconnected. Soffit is falling at numerous locations around the perimeter of the structure. The wood siding is rotten and where it meets the slab at the ground. The front and rear doors are unlocked and open, thus allowing access to the interior of the structure. Substantial debris within the interior of the structure. The suspended ceiling located inside the structure has fallen. Based on the report of the engineer, the structure is a serious public hazard. The City of Kenner recommends that necessary steps be taken to declare this a public nuisance and have it abated by demolition and brought up to the current codes by the city codes of ordinances. There was a large family of raccoons living in this structure when I visited it. It was in a bad way. I think I jumped 10 feet in the air. But we would hope that you would continue to support us and let's take this structure down. Thank you.
Thank you. Curator?
Good evening, John W. Becknell III of the Becknell Law Firm, 3445 North Causeway Boulevard, Suite 736, Metairie, Louisiana, 7002. I was appointed curator ad hoc for the absent defendants Una Stansberry, wife of, and Lawrence August Mayran. I acted as agent to accept service and to attempt to locate the absent defendants, and I'd like to file the following note of evidence. Upon being appointed curator, I caused to be run in the Times-Picayune newspaper the following ad. Anyone knowing the whereabouts of Una Stansberry, wife of and or Lawrence August Mayran, please contact John W. Becknell III, attorney at 504-833-7325. This ad ran on April 29th, May 2nd, and May 4th, 2018. The certificate of publication of the ad is attached here too as curator's Exhibit A. I then sent certified mail dated April 27th, 2018 to the absent defendants at 204 Georgetown Drive, Kenner, Louisiana, 70065, with a copy of the prior correspondence sent to the absent defendants by the city and a copy of the code violations affecting their property located at 204 Georgetown Drive, Kenner, Louisiana, 70065, enclosed. These letters are attached here too as Curator's Exhibit B. The mail was returned to me unclaimed. A copy of the unclaimed mailing is attached here too as Curator's Exhibit C. I also ran an internet search to obtain additional information regarding the whereabouts of the two absent defendants, but no additional addresses possibly belonging to the absent defendants were found. Additionally, on February 5th, 2018, the city mailed midnight letters to Norwest Bank, Minnesota, National Homes Acceptance Corporation, and Independence One Mortgage Corporation. These midnight letters are attached here too as Curator's Exhibit D. To date, I have received no response from the absent defendants regarding their whereabouts. This completes my note of evidence.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience wish to address this matter? Seeing none. Motion by Councilman Brennan, second by Councilman Brannigan to close the public hearing. Council members, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
Motion by Councilmember Brennan, second by Councilmember Brannigan to approve. No discussion. Please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 10 is opening of bids. We have none. Item 11 is reclassification of zoning for final passage. Item 11A is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 12,393, an ordinance approving a re-subdivision of lots 8A, 10A, 14A, and 16A, square 102, into Lot 8, official zoning map, ordinance number 11,062, Unified Development Code, more particularly rezoning Lot 8A1, Square 102, Veterans Heights subdivision from C1 Neighborhood Commercial and R2 Two-Family Residential to C1 Neighborhood Commercial.
Motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Wilmot to open public hearing. Council members, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
We're now in a public hearing. Anyone wishing to address this matter? I know planning has a presentation.
Yes, Council Chairman. I'm going to actually let Mr. Dufour give the presentation.
Sure.
Thank you. The property owner in this case is Adonis E. Paz, 2215 Veterans Boulevard, Kenner, Louisiana, 70062. The applicant is CIS Architects, 3129 Edenbourne Avenue, Suite 100, Metairie, Louisiana, 7002. The petition property are lots 8A, 10A, 14A, and 16A, located at the southwest corner of Veterans Memorial Boulevard and Phoenix Street, Square 102, Veterans Heights subdivision. Lot 8A fronts on both Veterans Memorial Boulevard and Phoenix Street, with the remaining 3 lots fronting Phoenix Street. The lots are currently undeveloped. The applicant is proposing to re-subdivide these lots and to rezone the new re-subdivided lot to C1 Neighborhood Commercial for the purpose of developing a rent-smart furniture and appliance rental establishment. This portion of the Veterans Boulevard corridor contains a combination of uses, including the Susan Park Playground directly across Veterans Boulevard to the north, neighborhood commercial uses primarily located along Veterans Boulevard, a mixture of various types of residential uses located off Veterans Boulevard and adjacent south of the subject lots, and industrial uses to the east of the subject site across Phoenix Street and Square 101. As it pertains to the re-subdivision, existing lots 8A, 10A, 14A, and 16A are rectangular shaped, each consisting of 6,000 square feet and measuring 50 by 120 feet. The proposed new lot, 8-A1, will be rectangular shaped, consisting of 24,000 square feet and measuring 200 feet by 120 feet. The lot will have frontage along both Veterans Memorial Boulevard and Phoenix Street. Upon review, new lot 8A1 meets the minimum lot size for the C1 district and meets the conditions of a simple re-subdivision. The current property is on lots 8A and 10A, which are the 2 most northern lots, are currently zoned C1 Neighborhood Commercial. Lot 14A is split zoned, with approximately 40% of the lot currently zoned C1, with the remaining 60% zoned R2 Two-Family Residential. Lot 16A, which is towards the bottom, is zoned R2 Two-Family Residential. The zoning for the surrounding properties, an evaluation of the zoning of the surrounding property area shows that Square 186, located north across Veterans Memorial Boulevard, is zoned RD Recreation District and contains Susan Park Playground. Lots 1 through 5 in Square 101, located east across Phoenix Street, are zoned C1 Neighborhood Commercial and contain an auto repair shop. Lots 67 through 70, also located east of the site across Phoenix Street in Square 101, are governed by Special Ordinance 1727, adopted on May 12, 1975, and currently is used as a repair shop and storage yard for dump trucks. Lot 17A, located adjacent to the south, is zoned R2 Two-Family Residential and developed as a duplex. Lots 1 through 6, located adjacent west of the subject, are zoned C1 Neighborhood Commercial and are undeveloped. Lots 67 through 70 in Square 102, also located adjacent west of the subject lots, are zoned R2 Two-Family Residential and contain a multifamily use. A history of the zoning for the subject property shows that in 1957, the subject lots were zoned R2 Two-Family Residential. In 1978, lots 8A and 10A were rezoned to GO General Office, while lot 14A became split zoned at that point, with 40% of the lot rezoned to General Office and the remaining 60% retaining its R2 zoning. Lot 16A also retained its R2 zoning. In January 1988, lots 8A and 10A, along with the General Office zone portion of lot 14A, were rezoned to C1 Neighborhood Commercial. The remainder of lot 14A and all of lot 16A retained their R2 zoning. Approximately 60% of the new lot 8A1 will be zoned C1, while 40% of the lot will be zoned R2. Therefore, the proposed rezoning only pertains to the 40% of the new lot. The city's Pattern for Progress Comprehensive Plan's future land use map identifies the original 4 lots as appropriate for neighborhood commercial uses. Therefore, the proposed rezoning of the R2 two-family residential portion of new lot 8A1 to C1 neighborhood commercial is consistent with the city's adopted future land use plan and map. The C1 neighborhood commercial zoning designation is consistent with the overall development patterns along that portion of the Veterans Boulevard corridor. And that concludes the Planning Department presentation.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience wishing to speak on this? Seeing none, motion by Councilman Carroll, second by Councilman Wilmot to close the public hearing. Council members, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
Motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Wilmot to approve. Councilman Carroll.
Thank you, Mr. President. And thank you, Mr. Dufour, for the presentation. Again, we're back to this land base for where the new terminal will affect everything. And we, along with the administration, this is our opportunity to determine how this front is going to look. You know, we get one chance with this. And that is why a lot of the information Mr. Dufour mentioned about the Pattern for Progress, which is already in place for the city of Kenner, to ensure that we follow the guidelines that we have for the mixture, that we follow what we want it to look like. So even though it's in District 1, all of us up here have an opportunity to be a part of this to ensure, along with the mayor and administration, that this is going to look like we want it to look. That it's not going to be, hodgepodge put together and everything. We get a chance to do this, so we have to pay close attention to this. I say the terminal opens in 2019. This is the planning, the code, and everybody's responsibility to make sure that this is something we can be proud of once we are no longer here, and this will go on for many, many years after we are no longer on the council. So I look forward to everyone's up here participation to talk about when you ride down Veterans, to look at it and say, listen, this is going on, this is not going on. A lot of construction will be going on to expand the Veterans. So let's I appreciate it and ask for your support to make sure that we do a good job with this. And obviously, we're gonna have our fantastic code and planning department to help us along the way from the legal aspect. But just for a people's perspective that we have to represent, that is very important. So we look forward to that. Thank you, Mr. Dufour. Thank you, planning. Thank you, code. Thank you, Mr. President.
All righty. Thank you. And nobody else? Motion by Councilman Carroll, second by Council Wilmot to approve. Then please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 12 is other ordinances for final passage. Item 12A, summary ordinance number 12,395, an ordinance amending Chapter 15, Section 56A of the Kenner Code of Ordinances by adding no parking signs on both sides of 42nd Street from Florida Avenue to Connecticut Avenue.
Motion by Councilmember Hayes, second by Councilmember McKinney. Any discussion? Mr. Hayes?
President, we have inspected this situation. We do indeed have a problem. Therefore, ask for positive vote on this ordinance.
Okay. That's all? Anybody else? All right, council members, please vote. There's a, and the no parking sign will hopefully resolve the problem. All right, everybody,
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 12B was taken at an earlier juncture in the meeting. Item 13 is resolutions and motions by council members. Item 13A was taken earlier. Item 13B is a resolution appointing Natalie Hall Tartaglia, Clerk of Council, effective July 12th, 2018.
motion by Councilman Brennan, second by Councilmember McKinney. Any discussion? Hearing none, council members, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much. Item 13C is a resolution requesting the administration to review the counter-sexual harassment policy and update it as needed.
Motion by Councilmember Segura, second by Councilwoman McKinney. What this is trying to make sure that the city of Kenner's workforce is a safe workforce, and that what seems to be an unfortunate trend with harassment of various types in the workforce, that the administration review the policies that are there and see if we need to tighten them up or make changes to ensure that anybody who feels that there's a possibility they're being harassed, that they know the procedures to go through to report it and understand that it will be dealt with accordingly. So the purpose of the resolution is keeping that in moving forward. It's also State Rep at the time, Helena Moreno, had passed some legislation to ensure that all municipalities have current sexual harassment laws in place, even though we did have one already, but this is now just to have a review to ensure that we stay above that curve and not have any headlines. Councilman Carroll?
Thank you, Mr. President, and I agree with you. This is something that obviously we, as a council and administration, have to stay on top of. And you mentioned about the process that has to take place. Ms. Fauché, even though most people know, could you just give us, for the employees' sake, what is the process if they feel that something is going on, or could someone come forward to give that? Is there?
Yes, Director,
Oh, I didn't see the director back there.
Personnel Director will come up.
Thank you.
We do have a policy. It is in the policy manual. Each new employee is asked to sign it when they join, and any changes will be signed off again by each individual employee. But I would ask if Ms. Foles would go ahead and give us the very specifics that she can tell us.
Thank you, Ms. Foles.
To quote off the top, I don't want to quote off the top of my head, but every new hire is given the policy. There is a reporting procedure in the policy where they can go to the supervisor. If the supervisor's a person they're feeling, threatened by or whatever, they can come straight to the personnel director. They can, it's all kept confidential. I apologize, I really can't, off the top of my head. But everybody does sign off on it, and it is, are there any specific?
No, obviously the biggest thing is if a person is feeling threatened or feel that the person that they report to is the person that they want to report,
They come straight to the
they're
personnel
going to be
director.
uncomfortable. So to know that information is important.
Yes, they do
That is
come.
the biggest piece, to know that.
Absolutely.
Depending on, it doesn't matter what level that you work under, that there is someone, if it is that person, that you have to go to also, without feeling that you're going to be,
Retaliated, right. And there
Exactly.
is no retaliation policy in the policy as well. But yes, they can come straight to personnel with the complaint.
Is it a written, or is it a written?
Yes.
Is it a form, or they just write it out themselves?
They can come, it can be either way. If it's something that, we prefer that they put it in writing, and it is kept confidential in personnel.
Yeah, because not that I have spoken to someone specifically about that, but there have been some employees, as it relates to who are a little intimidated about the technical end of it, to be able to write or to use the language that will suffice or hold up in a case. So do we offer support for that, or is that something that the employee has to get through their family or friends?
No, they can always come to the personnel department for assistance, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Hold on, Wendy.
didn't hear you. I apologize.
I just want, nobody else had anything? Okay, well, just clarification for a question for closing is, again, in light of, unfortunately, like I said, all of these things that we see in the news media around, I wanted to make sure that, as you've reiterated, the policy is there and it's got its notification processes.
Correct.
But just to still be sure that every level of employee understands no intimidation, no harassment by any person is to be accepted and allowed. So if they felt that they have been intimidated, harassed, that they know the procedure is to, as you've said, but, and this is one of these tactful things, I've seen and heard sometimes where, whether it be supervisory, elected officials, or whatever, that person still feels some intimidations. So I'm hoping that through this review that y'all just help put some verbiage in there to ensure them that it doesn't matter what level.
Correct.
Please
They're
bring it
always
forward.
welcome to come.
But with that,
Right.
but with that said, that I want to ensure that we have the proper investigative procedures in place to have any complaint properly investigated and then determine whether any actions have to be brought forward.
Correct.
Okay. All right, thank you. Anything else? Nope, board's clear. All in favor? Please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 13D is a resolution appointing Doug Doe to the Jefferson Parish Hazard Mitigation Plan Advisory Committee to represent the city of Kenner.
Motion by Councilmember Brennan, second by Councilmember Hayes. Any discussion? Mayor, do y'all want to explain a little bit what this is about? No, I just didn't know if the administration wanted to explain. Okay. Seeing none, council members, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 13E is a resolution calling a public hearing to determine whether the structure located at 2240 Kansas Avenue, Kenner, Louisiana, shall be abated by repair, rehabilitation, demolition, or removal.
Motion by Councilmember Segura, seconded by Councilmember Wilmot. Council members, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 13F is a resolution requesting the assistance of the administration to review the proposed ordinance amending Chapter 7 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Kenner regarding the distribution of solicited and unsolicited print matter.
Motion by Councilmember Brennan, second by Councilmember McKinney. Councilmember Brennan.
Thank you. This is just simply asking for assistance from the administration to help us as we move this forward. So we would appreciate any guidance and comments that the administration can make and help us implement this. Thank you.
Mayor Zahn.
Thank you, Council Chairman. And Councilman Brennan, we would definitely do that. This will allow us more time to work through the ordinances on first reading with discussions with you and also Councilman McKinney. I appreciate that this resolution is on because it'll give us the time to work through it because it does have a 28-day layover. So if anybody thinks that it was going to happen in 2 weeks anyway, it's not. It's going to be a 28-day layover. It may be a little bit longer than that, but I think it'll give us enough time to watch how it works in the parish, work through a few things. We have a few challenges in code enforcement right now. We want to make sure whatever y'all put out there is, bulletproof to make sure, because I know everybody hates these little orange bags that are on their property, including myself. But we will work with y'all very closely with code. We'll start having some meetings with you two, with code enforcement, and address how we can work out the kinks. Thank you. Appreciate the resolution.
And before we close, let me just kind of for clarification, because we're voting on a resolution that is anticipating a first reading in a few minutes, ordinance presentation, and then at least 28-day later vote. And this is the somewhat hot potato across the community right now, the do not toss comments on unsolicited newspapers and printed materials. So for the public that is listening to this language, understand that this is all the prep work to get us to being able to address the blight and the trash that's being thrown in the neighborhoods. Okay. Council members, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 14 is items removed from the consent agenda. We have none. Item 15 is acceptance of contracts and similar matters approved by the mayor. Item 15A is summary ordinance number 12,397, an ordinance approving an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Kenner and Jefferson Parish to provide funding for street resurfacing near the City of Kenner and Jefferson Parish line.
Motion by Councilmember Segura, second by Councilmember McKinney. We'll open up on this just to explain that what this is as we probably have said many times lately, the working relationship between us and our parish councilmen is something that has been fabulous. So here we have another example where Councilman Impostata contacted me some weeks ago and explained that he was going to be doing some resurfacing of a street that's immediately outside the Kenner city limits on the parish side, and that some of the cross streets that go into that from City of Kenner side were kind of in need of repair also. So he asked to perhaps obviously make it more efficient and cheaper, that I contribute with him, and he would also put up some of the funds to allow the Kenner streets to be resurfaced at the same time. So, so that's what this is allowing now for the parish, as well as the funds from my District 2 to help resurface these streets while the parish is doing work. So I want to thank Councilman Impostata for that offer, and we'll take some more when you get it. Thank you. All right, council members, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15B is summary ordinance number 12,398, an ordinance authorizing the utilization of GSA Cooperative Purchase Program, contract number GS-07F-0430V, to purchase one mini-caliber tactical robot and accessories from ICOR Technology Incorporated in the amount of $54,362.61 for the Kenner Police Department.
Motion by Councilmember Brennan, second by Councilmember Brannigan. Any discussion? Seeing none. Council members, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15C is summary ordinance number 12,399, an ordinance approving an agreement with Dyna Play LLC to replace damaged playground equipment at Rosemary J. Minor Park in an amount not to exceed $23,159.26 for the Department of Parks and Recreation.
Motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Hayes. Councilman Carroll, nothing? Oh, I'm sorry. Well, you didn't. Okay. All right. Council members, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15D is summary ordinance number 12,400, an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Fleming Construction Company, LLC, to provide drainage maintenance on an as-needed basis in accordance with seal bid number 18-6433 in an amount not to exceed $200,000 for the Department of Public Works.
Motion by Councilmember Wilmot, second by Councilmember McKinney. No discussion. Council members, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15E is summary ordinance number 12,401, an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Traffic Solutions Incorporated to supply sign poles, brackets, and miscellaneous sign supplies on an as-needed basis in accordance with seal bid number 18-6435 in an amount not to exceed $30,000 for the Department of Public Works.
Motion by Councilmember Brennan, second by Councilmember Brannigan. No discussion. Council members, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15F is summary ordinance number 12,402, an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from B&H Photo to furnish security camera equipment for the City of Kenner in the amount of $11,735.29 in accordance with telephone bid number T18-2599 for the Information Technology and Telecommunications Department.
Motion by Councilmember Hayes, second by Councilmember Wilmot. Seeing no discussion, council members, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15G is summary ordinance number 12,403, an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Vehicle Parts and Equipment Incorporated in the amount of $13,159.60 to furnish and install products and equipment for 15 new police vehicles in accordance with letter bid number 18-1574 for the Kenner Police Department.
Motion by Councilmember Brannigan, second by Councilmember Brennan. Seeing no discussion, council members, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15H is summary ordinance number 12,404, an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Carpet Network Incorporated to furnish and install carpet tile on an as-needed basis in accordance with seal bid number 18-6432 in an amount not to exceed $50,000 per year for the Department of General Services.
Motion by Councilmember Wilmot, second by Councilmember Carroll. Seeing no discussion, council members, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 16 is ordinances and resolutions in summary for first reading. Item 16A is an ordinance approving the lease of the Gordon Avenue right-of-way, Hanson Place subdivision, Kenner, Jefferson Parish, Louisiana, which said property is owned by the city of Kenner. Item 16B is an ordinance approving the plan of re-subdivision of lots P-2-1 and P-2-2 into lot P-3, Loyola Tract, University City subdivision, Kenner, Jefferson Parish, Louisiana, which lots are owned by Jefferson Parish School Board. Item 16C is an ordinance amending Chapter 15, Traffic and Motor Vehicles, Article 2, Section 15-21 of the Kenner Code of Ordinances to add additional stop sign locations on Bordeaux Drive at its intersection with Champaign Drive facing south. Item 16D is an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Kenner, Louisiana regarding the legal department to administer all requests for public records. Item 16E is an ordinance approving a cooperative endeavor agreement with Friends of Rivertown Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $75,000. Item 16F is an ordinance authorizing an increase in the amount of $96,081.62 to purchase upgraded equipment on the Rosenbauer 101-foot Cobra Smart aerial platform fire truck with funds reallocated from the BP settlement from Bonaventure Company Incorporated for the Kenner Fire Department. Item 16G is an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Pellerin Laundry Machine Sales in the amount of $6,640 for the purchase of an American ADF G64 firefighters turnout gear drying cabinet in accordance with telephone bid number T18-2583 for the Kenner Fire Department. Item 16H is an ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from AC Supply Incorporated for the purchase of 6 5-ton AC unit material only using American Standard air conditioning equipment in accordance with telephone bid number T18-2601 in the amount of $18,365.91 for the Kenner Fire Station 37. Item 16I is an ordinance amending Chapter 7 of the Kenner Code of Ordinances of the City of Kenner regarding the distribution of solicited and unsolicited print matter. Item 17 is reports from the council and our special committees.
Any question? Wait, is it?
Councilman Carroll has his light on.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would just like to ask the recreation director. I know school is getting ready to start in a little while. The registration for volleyball, football is coming up, and just to let the public know, what is the process now? I remember we used to do it electronically. Are we still doing that? And when are the dates required? So if you don't mind, sir.
Oh, look. On their agenda, this amount's different.
Oh, yeah, we fixed it.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. We do currently, we are moved to an online program. It's called RecDesk. So kenner.recdesk.com has the listing of all of our programs, all of our sporting events. I don't have the exact date of football. We're actually in the middle of doing that right now. We just completed, as of last week, the state championship for baseball with the All-Stars. So we will be releasing that date pretty soon, but RecDesk is the place to go. Kenner.recdesk.com. And again, that's not just for sports. That's for all the leisure activities as well, summer camps, everything. You can do it right there online from the comfort of your living room.
Okay. Well, thank you. And when you guys get those dates together,
We definitely will.
please come back and share that
As
with
well as our
us.
social media. So we do not only the city page, but we do have Kenner Parks and Recreation as well. We'll have all kind of updates on there as well. So we try to hit social media as well as the internet as well.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, Councilman Brennan. Councilman Brennan?
Chad, I'm sorry, but I was trying to catch you while you were up there. You don't have to go back. I just wanted to say thank you for all the updates, all the phone calls and the information you've been calling me with in the last few weeks for updates at the playground. You're doing a great job. Thank you.
All right, no other business? Okay, Council Clerk?
Item 18 is new business. This motion was taken earlier in the meeting. Item 19 is unfinished business and motions to reconsider or remove from a tabled position. We have none. Item 20 is persons wishing to address the council on special subject matters.
Mr. Al Morel, State.
Al Morella, 4260 East Loyola Drive, 5th District, 46 years. I want to welcome the 4 new council members, and I want to congratulate the 3 returning council members. Now, I want to talk about part of the narrative at the inauguration was that this council was going to work together as one council, and that's a good thing, providing that your number one priority is to represent the best interests of all of the people of Kenner and to deliver honest services and good government. However, if the dynamic is to go along to get along, I will oppose that agenda every step of the way at this podium. Now, the next topic, I want to talk about an issue that I brought to this council about 3 or 4 years ago. It involves a contractor by the name of H&O Gardens. Now, the issue was, at that time, they had a contract with the Kenner Housing Authority, and they was awarded a contract with the city of Kenner. When I brought it to their attention, the city of Kenner terminated the contract because of a possible conflict of interest. Now, I want to say this, the Kenner Housing Authority is not funded by the city of Kenner, but it is a city agency, and the board members are appointed by the mayor of this city. So I saw H&O Gardens cutting the neutral ground by my house last week. So now they may not even have a contract with the city of Kenner, but I did see them cutting the grass on the neutral ground. And I want to know if, in fact, they are under contract with the city. I've already talked about this at the Kenner Housing Authority. I attend those meetings as well. So I'd like to know if, in fact, they do have a contract with the city, and if so, I want an opinion as to whether or not it is a conflict of interest. If they have a contract, can anybody answer that question for me? Anybody?
Well, okay. You finished with your time, Mr. Morel?
No, I'm not through. I got some more to say.
So he's going to let him finish, and then we'll answer it.
Okay, well, we're going to let you finish your time.
Okay. One other thing I want to talk about, I didn't attend, but I'm sure that they did have the ceremony commemorating what happened 36 years ago back here in our city on July the 9th, 1982. And I want to say this, I didn't attend. I usually attend, but I didn't attend this time. I couldn't make it. But there was hardly any talk about it on the news stations. There was hardly any talk about it in the print newspaper. Okay, now, maybe the computer, I don't know. I don't fool with none of that. But I get the newspaper. But I didn't hear too much about it. But I just want to say this. This is why I feel so adamantly that the city of Kenner, and I've always said this, should have equal say as to what goes on at this airport back here. I don't believe we have equal say, and I think we should have equal say because of that tragedy that took place back here. New Orleans might own that airport, but it sits in our backyard. Anybody got any comments, any questions?
You got 20 seconds, so.
Oh, man, I'm through.
Okay. Well, then.
Thank you.
Time. First response, you go ahead. We're finished. I'm just going to first response to a comment, but your time's up, so we'll
That's okay, man. I'll stand here and listen to what she's got to say. if
Okay.
somebody wants
Now,
to
just
answer me.
Before she gets there to answer your question, your comments about the crash coverage.
Yes, sir.
I apologize if you didn't have Channel 4 on because they extensively covered
Mm-hmm.
and had flashback films of practically, beginning
Mm-hmm.
and going on. And so there was a big deal. The Mass at a Lady of Perpetual Help was held
Mm-hmm.
immediately after. Former Chief Conjemi and myself
Mm-hmm.
had lunch with several of the children of the people who were killed in the crash. They do come here annually as a vacation, and one from Australia, from Homa, from all parts of the country. So every year it is remembered and made notice of. Ms. Foshi?
Yes, Mr. Al, I know you were on the Housing Authority before, so probably you remember that the Housing Authority is a state agency, and it's covered by state civil service. It's funded by the federal government, and the only role that the city plays is that the mayor makes the selection of the board members. He can't even remove the board members unless there is cause. So there's no relationship between those two agencies. It is not a city agency. I'm not sure why you would think there would be a conflict, because H&O has a contract with us if they have a contract with the Housing Authority. We're two totally separate entities, unrelated in any way. H&O does have a contract with the city. They cut the parkways. We tried, as you probably know from being at some of our budget hearings, we said we would pull in as much of the citywide grass cutting as possible, and the only time we would farm it out is if it was less expensive, and I'm amazed at the price that they were able to give us for cutting the neutral ground. So you will not see city employees cutting the neutral grounds, not because they're not competent, but because it actually costs less to have H&O do that service. You will see city employees cutting grass at the Parks and Recreation, and you will also see some city employees cutting grass at the overgrown lots that we have liens on. But H&O, as far as I can tell at least, and Public Works can probably add to that, but H&O does have a contract. They've done a good job, and we're not in any way related to the Housing Authority.
To be continued.
Thank you. Mr. Greg Teff?
My name is Greg Taft. I live at 3720 West Loyola Drive.
Welcome back.
First, I do want to congratulate all the new council members.
Haven't seen him in a while.
I wasn't able to attend the ceremony. I was out of town, but hopefully things, will progress forward and will become the city that most citizens, all the citizens can be proud of. I do want to bring up an issue that I think is very alarming, and it does show the fiduciary responsibility not only of the council but of the administration. We have this new shopping center that's on West Esplanade. We grant these, through these permits to allow these buildings to be built, and then we get the tenants in there to set up their shop and do their business. And then we've had meetings where we boasted how we were going to be innovative and build crossings to make the crossings so that the businesses, the traffic wouldn't have to go all the way to the end and come back. They could just cross over. Then we find out that, whatever reason, that can't be done right away. It's now being delayed. What I want each of y'all to understand, that if you ever ran a business, if you bottleneck or strangle that business, their investment will be lost. The employees working in that business, their jobs will be lost. So what I'm saying to y'all, when we grant these permits or when we're going to be doing to attract businesses, that we do our homework right. And that is to make sure that what that business or that shopping center is supposed to be doing is going to be able to do it. Because when a business takes a stake, their money's already at risk, especially if we strangle the business for them, as we're doing now on West Esplanade, because people can't just cross over. They got to go all the way to Power Boulevard, make the U-turn, and then come back up to Veterans, make the U-turn there to get back to the shopping center. Yeah. And, you know, I thought when it was brought up about that crossover, I thought that was a heck of an idea, to find out now that it really wasn't checked the way it should have been, to make sure that it could have been accomplished or that it was feasible. All I'm saying is,
Mr. Teff, you've got
mistake
about
is
2 seconds.
made. I'm sure that the businesses there, if they have to wait any period of time, a lot of them will go out of business.
Thank you, Mr. Teff.
Employees will be hurt. Thank you.
Thank you. And we do have some, between the mayor and I, will respond, but thank you.
I'm going first.
If you want it.
Mr. Teff, probably what I would expect more from those businesses is a thank you first, but I guess we're not going to get that. It's incredible that one particular business, and I don't fault you for this because you're just reading social media, which a lot of times is lies anyway. It's incredible that one certain business who opened up probably 3 years ago, and we didn't start talking about the turnaround or the crossover until 2 years ago. So as far as I'm concerned, as a parish councilman at the time, when I approached Mike Segure, or even the mayor at the time, what I'm surprised is that they were told by who that a crossover was coming, because they weren't told by the parish councilman at the time, me. They were not told by the mayor at the time, or Mike Segure, the acting mayor at the time, that a crossover was coming. If they were told by someone else, that's not our fault. The crossover is only probably about 6 months to 9 months behind schedule, because as parish councilman, I sent immediately free pipes, free dirt, everything that we could get our hands on to start the construction. There was no time that we promised anybody what was going to be done. Now, and I won't mention the business, but everybody knows who it is because it's the only one that sells donuts. If they continue to lie to the public and tell them that we are not doing something, all we can do is put out in the Kenner Star and also hear right now the truth. It's 6 months behind, maybe, only because of some changes that were made by the engineering firm. You have 4 entities: the city of Kenner, the parish council, the engineer, and the property owner who put $500,000 into this project. It's about $2 million totally. There's nobody that knows this project better than me, because I've dealt with it on that side, and I'm dealing with it as mayor. With the help of Mike Segure as councilman/mayor at the time, he's been very helpful. We've been working on this to get this thing done. Whatever social media is saying, it's a lie. Now, if he's got some kind of deal cut with the property owner that they were promised a crossover, so be it. The crossover wasn't spoken about until 2 years ago. That shopping center has been open for at least 3 years. All those stores, including the donut store, has been there for a long time. When I've been in the store, there's usually no donuts there. That's either poor management not getting donuts out or too busy. I don't know which one it is, but it's no reflection on us, and there's only one person complaining to my knowledge. So we're working very closely with the property owner. We had a conference call with Dominic Epistata, the parish administration, Mr. Keith Conley, and the engineer, myself, Councilman Segure, and also legal here, and I think legal on their end. And they are assuring us, with our Public Works Department and also their Public Works Department, they are assuring us that within 30 days, we will have the final engineering back. Within 40 days, it'll go out for bid. And correct me if I'm wrong, Mike. Within 40 days, it'll go out for bid. Construction, well, the bid will be at least a month and a half to 2 months. Construction, maybe another 3 to 4 months. Look, I don't want anybody to quote me, but hopefully by the early part of next year, we will see a crossover turnaround that will help all those businesses for whoever promised them something that we didn't. But again, I would like to get at least a, hey, thank you, instead of a, I'm not talking about you. I'm just talking about from certain businesses over there. Thank you for at least trying to enhance our business, because usually government doesn't do something like that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Teff, yes, just to sort of expound on that a little bit. I was elected in 2014, late 2014, early 15. That shopping center, Phase 1, was under construction, nearing completion. Once it was completed, it filled up. We know Copper Donut, the Zoo Gym, Paran's Po' Boy, Hair Studio, I don't remember all the names, but it filled up immediately. At that point in time, as the mayor said, Mayor Yenny, then Parish Councilman Zahn, myself, and Councilman Reno met in the Copper Donut restaurant to discuss what to do for traffic to get to that shopping center. From that discussion, it led to let's put turnaround crossovers. We then started working on that process with the parish, with their assistance, as the Mayor just said, and the property owner who was building the complex. He gave us his plans for the future. Now, I don't take this wrong, but I got to admit, everybody has changes in their life where something is not the same as what you thought it would be days, months ago. It's going to change. Well, what now has happened is the property owner of that land, after construction was going on and an agreement was made on how to make the crossover turnaround, he chose not to build Phase 3 and 4 of the shopping center and sell that property off to somebody else. So that has completely changed the dynamics of what the design could and should be. So that's where the mayor's saying we've been working with the design team that started to accommodate and build in changes to accommodate these changes that are beyond us. We had nothing to do with the change of not wanting to make Phase 3, 4 of the shopping center and to sell off the other half of the property. But we are reacting as fast as we can to get it moving. So, Mr. Schreiner, I think you gave them the city's go-ahead to proceed based upon our understanding of a design change, and we were told in that meeting, once we did that, that the engineer will have to us a design for bidding in 30 days. Soon as we get that, as the mayor said, it will go right out to bid. Month and a half, 2 months max between the 30-day bid and then the review. And then we will award and let them go to work. And I think Mr. Schreiner projected it could be about a 4-month construction. So that's the timeline that the mayor's giving you. And that's what we are now publicly saying, because we have now come to those conclusions based upon these changes that were not our part. We didn't make these changes, but we are accommodating the changes to make it work. So put that in social media. I won't do it. I will say that on July 23rd, I am holding a town hall meeting right here, and that topic will be discussed and explained, as well as what the new project will be in that land that was sold. So come to that. Thank you. Mr. Richard Brown?
Richard Brown, 824 Sessions Lane. Thank you, Mr. President. First, I'm president of Citizens for a Better Kenner, and on behalf of Citizens for a Better Kenner, I want to welcome the new council members. We're looking forward to it. We have already met with some of y'all. We're looking forward to meeting with the others. I've talked recently with Christy McKinney and Mr. Hayes. We're trying to set up a meeting. But I've got a couple of questions. The first question is for the mayor. Mayor Zahn, what is the status of Kenner's appointee to the New Orleans Aviation Board? Has New Orleans affirmed it, and if so, who is it?
Well, I'm sorry. Well, wait till if you finish your time, and then we'll answer all your questions.
Okay. That's the first question for the mayor. Second one is either for the mayor and/or for Councilman Brannigan. I know that a few months ago, the council adopted an ordinance ordering the demolition of the old theater at the Esplanade, but the owners agreed to demolish it. The city was not going to be paying for it. The owners had agreed to demolish it. I think a timetable was agreed upon. I heard tonight, I guess during the mayor's comments and then comments by Councilman Brannigan, that it looks like Councilman Brannigan is going to be paying to demolish the theater out of the District 4 council funds. My question is, or I guess three questions, what happened to change the plan for the property owners to tear it down? And why is the city paying for it? And why is it coming out of District 4 funds? And how much is it costing the city?
You had 1:40 left. Will you wish to continue, or
I think that concludes what I wanted to ask. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Brown. Then we'll, administration?
All right. So, yes, the Aviation Board appointment is Mr. Nicky Nicolosi. He actually had lunch with him today. Next week will be his first meeting. He's done all his paperwork. I know that being a former CAO, a former Public Works Director of the City of Kenner, I think even code enforcement at one time, an aide to Louis Congemi on the parish level, a successful businessman, Nikki will bring a lot of help to the City of Kenner because, as you and I have had many discussions, they should live in Kenner. They should be a Kenner business person or a Kenner, obviously, resident, and also very, very used to dealing with things with the City of Kenner. And I think I know that's what we have with Mr. Nicolosi. And his first meeting is next week. The movie theater was always, they were supposed to demolish it when they were moving forward with their process. I didn't think that they were moving forward with their process quick enough. That goes back 60 days for when the previous council voted to actually tear down the movie theater within 60 days. It did not have to come back to the council. It was discussed at that council meeting, and I apologize if it was lost in the translation because there was a lot going on that night because we had the property owners coming up and everything, that we would tear it down in 60 days if they have not shown enough progress. If you've been by there, they have shown, I'm going to say, zero progress. They will say that they did. I mean, I have before and after pictures. I don't think you'd notice a difference. So we're going to use, at the time, Councilman Klein put up the legislation. It was supported that night by then Councilman-elect George Brannigan at that podium you're standing at, saying that, yes, he supports what Klein was doing. And since Councilman Klein has been gone, I reached out to Councilman Brannigan. I gave him the amount, which we thought was going to be $275. It's actually $175. We will get the money back because we'll put a lien against the property. When the property is sold, the $175 has to come back to us. Why is it coming out of District 4 accounts, which is city accounts anyway? Is because we don't have that in our demo account. That would probably clean us out in code enforcement for demos. So I appreciate Councilman Klein at the time. I really appreciate Councilman Brannigan right now stepping up to and keeping the commitment that the District 4 office made with district funds that I have sent either an email to or I'm getting ready to send tomorrow. I have to check with my secretary, confirming our conversation that the money will go back into the District 4 funding Capital 4 account.
Thank you.
No problem.
Councilman Brannigan.
Richard, I agree to do this because it's what needs to be done now, but I also have it covered that we will get the $175 back or whatever the costs incurred are to tear this building down. I'm not going to let District 4, lose that amount of money with the amount of things that we are trying to get accomplished in District 4. So I guarantee you that when it's all said and done, District 4 will have every penny that we spend on this situation back in my account. Okay?
I'm confident we'll be able to. Thank you. By the way, I appreciate everything you're doing along West Esplanade as far as filling in the low spots with the dirt. I want to thank you and commend you for that. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Ms. Stacy Alexandra.
Hello, Stacy Alessandro, 3309 Chateau Boulevard. First off, I'm here as a board member of Citizens for Better Kenner, and I too would like to congratulate all of y'all, the administration, Mayor Zahn on getting reelected, all of you guys, some old familiar faces, some new faces that I'm very happy to see. I think the Kenner voters made some very wise choices this election time. So Anyway, I just wanted to say that. Speaking on my personal behalf, so many things have come up as I was sitting there that I didn't even know I was going to talk about, but I'll make it quick. To whoever sponsored 13F, the newspaper ordinance, I would like to say thank you. Thank you, thank you. This has been a hot button of mine for a while. I've come and spoke before the council on this very issue previously. I'm so glad that you guys are taking the reign on this. It may have been somebody up here. Okay, well, it was somebody up here who did it, but whoever it was, thank you. I would just like to reiterate what my position was on this very item last time I was here, and it's basically that I understand that the newspapers have a right to the free press and free speech. But as far as I'm concerned, that right of theirs ends where my property rights begin, my peaceful enjoyment of my property, and not having the constant harassment of litter being put on my property, especially when I've contacted both newspapers and requested them not to do so. They continue to do this. And I'd like to remind the new members of the council, y'all do have something that you can do if this ordinance doesn't pass for whatever reason. Remember this when it comes time to award the contract for the official journal of the city of Kenner. It's worth a lot of money. And I guess the last thing is I did want to thank George Brannigan for hitting the ground running. You've done an amazing job, and I thank you for that. Thank you.
That's all. Thank you, Ms. Alexander. Before we close, Councilman Wilmot would like to make some comments.
I would like to say and remind everybody that there is, as Representative Stagney said earlier, he alluded to, that there is going to be a public informational meeting regarding the I-10 Loyola interchange improvements. That's known as the flyover. The Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development authorized an environmental assessment for the I-10 Loyola interchange improvement. The purpose of the meeting is to provide an overview of the proposed project and obtain input. So that's important, everyone. Input from the public regarding possible alternatives. The public meeting is scheduled for July 24th, Kenner City Park Pavilion, from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock. There will be a continuous PowerPoint presentation about the project, maps, and handouts. And then lastly, I would like to welcome all 4 incoming new council persons, Christy McKinney, Glenn Hayes, George Brannigan, Brian Brennan. They bring a wealth of knowledge and information and enthusiasm to this body. So I welcome that for sure. We now have a great variety of backgrounds, ages, and educations. I believe that we all get along together very well, but just as a reminder, please remember that sometimes we're not all going to agree. But when that happens, of course, adopt the concepts and ideas that are in the best interest of the city and the citizens of Kenner. Know that I look forward to serving with all of y'all, and I look forward to seeing good things evolve from this body. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion. Motion to close. Second. All in favor? Good night. Thank y'all.